A cold breeze brushed against the windows as the clock slowly ticked towards midnight. Outside, fireworks were already starting to streak the sky, announcing the arrival of a brand new year. But inside a small, dimly lit room, a 17-year-old named Armen sat hunched over his desk, staring at a blank, crisp page. It was the same ritual every single year. A new year, a new list, a new set of promises. This year, he whispered to himself, this year, I'll fix everything. He picked up his pen and began to write. The words flowed out, familiar and full of hope. Become the version of myself I see in my dreams. For a fleeting moment, the act of writing felt incredibly powerful, almost magical. It was like he was casting a spell to reshape his own future. But then, a quiet, nagging voice in the back of his mind whispered a truth he didn't want to hear. You wrote this same list last year, and the year before that. The clock struck 12. A symphony of fireworks exploded across the sky, painting the night with vibrant colors. The world was celebrating new beginnings, fresh starts, but for Armen, a familiar heaviness settled in his chest. Maybe this year will be different, he whispered, more as a prayer than a promise. The next morning, his alarm blared at 6 o'clock a.m. sharp. He cracked open one eye, glanced at the clock, and with a groan, he rolled over and fell right back asleep. By the time he finally dragged himself out of bed, it was almost 11. That familiar crushing wave of shame washed over him. The very first day of the year-end, he had already failed. Days blurred into weeks. The grand goals he had set for himself remained untouched. The notebook, once filled with so much promise, was forgotten, gathering dust on his desk. The idealized version of himself that he had promised to become was nowhere to be seen. Armen started avoiding his own reflection. Every glance in the mirror was a painful reminder of his perceived failure. The reflection seemed to mock him, whispering, all talk, no action. One evening, near the end of January, as he was sitting at his desk, the sound of rain tapping gently against the window pane filled the quiet room. His eyes landed on something he hadn't noticed before, a small, folded envelope tucked between two books on his shelf. The ink was faint, but his name was written on it in his own handwriting, from Armen to Armen. His curiosity piqued. He carefully opened it. Inside, written in his own hand from the previous New Year's Eve, were words that stopped him in his tracks. Don't make new goals this year. Make new habits. The future doesn't change when the calendar changes. It changes when you change. One small habit a day beats big promises. Trust me, I am you. Armen reread the letter, over and over. A sense of shock slowly gave way to a profound clarity. Last year, in a moment of insight he had completely forgotten, he had written down the very advice he so desperately needed right now. He had given himself the key and then locked it away. That night, he didn't write a long, intimidating list of goals. He didn't promise himself miracles or a complete transformation overnight. Instead, he chose just one habit. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Who's 10? The next morning, his body screamed at him to go back to sleep, but he whispered to himself, just 10 minutes, and they did Italiano. He got up. It was a small win, maybe insignificant to anyone else, but for him, it was real. It was tangible. He picked himself up the next day and tried again. He stopped chasing the impossible ideal of perfection and started chasing something far more powerful: consistency. Weeks slowly turned into months. His mornings started to feel clearer. His mind felt sharper. By the time December rolled around again, Armen was no longer the boy who perpetually failed his goals. He had become the boy who was building his life, one small, deliberate habit at a time. On New Year's Eve, as fireworks once again filled the night sky. Armen opened a fresh page in his notebook. This time, there were no grand, sweeping goals. He wrote just one simple sentence. "Thank you for trying again." He pulled out the old letter, the one he had written to himself, and read it again, a smile spreading across his face. He finally understood something powerful. A new year doesn't magically give you a new life. Your decisions do. Real change doesn't start on January 1st. It starts in the quiet moment you decide you're not going to live the same day over and over again. Armen carefully folded the old letter, placed it back in his desk drawer, and took out a clean sheet of paper. He began to write a new letter for his future self. "You're stronger than you were last year," he wrote. "Not because you changed everything at once, but because you changed one thing, and then you kept going." For the very first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of a new year. He wasn't burdened by the pressure of reinvention. He understood the secret. You don't need a new year to change your life. You just need a new habit and a promise you can actually keep, a promise to your future self. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content. See you next time.